Man, you come right out of a comic book.
Pulp to Pixel Media.
Exploring the media multiverse of geek culture.
You meddled in things potentially.
Hello, I'm Gotham Shran, creator of the science fantasy comic The Last Earth. I'd like to welcome you to my speed drawing and art process videos. Each week, I'll take you behind the scenes in the creation of my weekly comic strip. If you like this video and wish to be informed when new videos drop, then make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to stay up to date.
Welcome, everyone. All right, so week 11, starting with panel 41. Happy to start getting into some real action now. This is an action adventure comics, science fantasy comic that is, supposed to be comic book action, superhero, pulp action. So we've had a lot of sort of atmosphere building and tension up until this point, but now our protagonist is definitely into it with the cave crawler that I introduced in the last week. So here we see him getting loose. This has been, there's not too much I have to add. In the final panel, there's definitely some information I wanted to add, but this one's a good one. I was really happy with the detail on this. If you watch any of my previous process videos, and you can see the one where I'm inking Jack Kirby, this is definitely one that I pulled a lot of Kirby ink moves, specifically for the shimmer effect on the helmet. Another one though, where I'm really enjoying doing the hand lettering, and really learning that sort of skill as I go. And that's the thing. This whole project is not just me also getting my first comic book project really out there into the world, but also really training me on a lot of the tips and tricks of comic making. And to that end, I'm always trying to improve. Specifically, recently, I picked up a Cartooning the Head and Figure by Jack Ham. It's a illustration book on basically doing cartooning illustration. Looking at, this is a 82 printing, but it's from 67, and a lot of the information is very condensed. There's a lot of stuff in here that you see in the Scott McCloud Understanding Comics or Creating Comics part series of books that he's done. But I just like how it's much more condensed and a lot more. So hopefully we'll be seeing more of that entering into that. On that note, this weekend actually was a very productive one for me. I was actually working on a project that isn't The Last Earth. My sister and my nephew were asking me about a children's book project that we were working on. My sister wanted to write, and I was going to do the art for. And I just, I have other projects in play at the moment, so I'd been putting it off for a while, and I got a guilt call from my adorable little nephew. So this weekend I spent a lot of time working on that, and that one is one that's going to be a very different style than this, because I am going for a much more cartoony, bendy style, as it's really like a kind of children's story. All right. I think I've said this before, but if you take a look at the monster design in this new panel, I was definitely going for the Elder Things from At the Mountains of Madness by H.P. Lovecraft. I was thinking a lot of the description of their body form and body construction that he gave, and how I liked that as a different type of sort of alienish sort of creature. So that informed a lot of this. It's sort of a plant octopus sort of thing that I kind of was thinking of, sort of like a Venus flytrap and sort of kind of like octopus or worm sort of creature. Is about the best I can come up with. More black blood splurting around here too. I wondered how bloodless and violent I was going to make this series, as I'm still trying to find my way as whether I want to have this be very PG kids, or if I wanted to be very, PG-13 to R-rated in what comes out of it. I'm leaning more to the sort of PG kids version, as it is very much informed by a lot of that, but we haven't known. But I'm a aficionado or definitely a fan of the Outlaw Comics era of Black Blood, so I couldn't not do it in this sequence. All right. Also, want to kind of give us some updates. Not only was I working on this other side project, but I am actually doing a lot of work for the process and inspiration videos. I do have a number of them planned coming up. Number of them planned coming up. And so I have been basically inking, doing a lot of inking, and then working with different screen tones, coloring, doing a lot of practice, to kind of get up ready for the next 2 months. I have storyboarded out the next 2 months of panels, so I've done thumbnails. In the case of the second month, I did actually fairly tight thumbnails, so I may be able to go straight to ink from them, just with a picture. But that's this weekend I will be definitely putting some in. I've used up a lot of my lead on pre-created materials, and so I'm getting it to the point where I'm going to be now having like much more upfront deadlines. So we'll see how that affects production. I am thinking about resetting the schedule about when I release things, as I kind of have a weird staggered schedule that starts sort of in the middle of the week and sort of leaves out a weird time, but it just sort of worked best for my schedule at the time. But I think I want to kind of get it a more set to, Monday, Sunday sort of mix there. All right. One of the things I do love about this bit here that I'm working on, it took me a while to figure out how to get like what I wanted. I really wanted to show that he'd been flung pretty hard, and I wanted to show the character's full like form, but it was definitely a decision of how much to include, and so it was just easier to include the single tentacle. I do like that I'm also using. I used fling as the sound effect rather than try to come up with a sort of onomatopoeia-ish sound effect instead. And this one I did some classic speed lines. All right. Now, as kind of my final comment on this one is probably like one I really enjoyed. And all of these each one really turns out to be like, I often feel like the best one I've done, and then the next one. So I really am enjoying how much my work is improving as we go along. And I hopefully you guys are as well. Definitely leave me some comments, let me know. And if you have any questions as well, make sure to be doing that in the comments below. Now in this one, I'm definitely starting to play around with the idea of, you saw it last week at the final panel last week, and we're seeing it here again. I'm using the DeLuca effect, as you can see, to create effectively 4 panels in this image. This was so, I was really playing around with a lot of different ideas here. I wanted to push the look as much as possible. I wanted to use as much of the cartooning as possible, because that's another thing that's, as I progress on this, the more I really want to use all the tools of cartooning, including some of the more cartooning tools, such as like stars over the head to indicate someone's stunned, or any, like thought balloons, or, the exclamation points coming out, like just above the head is to indicate surprise and stuff. These are all things I want to start embracing more. Whether I do it in this project or not, we'll see, but I probably will see more of them creep in, as you saw in the last panel where I did fling instead of coming up with the sound. But I really wanted to play, so here again, the DeLuca effect to get these multiple panels, using the sound effect to fill in the background. I didn't really want to have to draw a lot of background that might distract from the images as well. Also, I'm hoping that it carries the eye in a way that, gets you to the page turn. So one of the things I've really enjoyed about learning this is I'm learning to tell stories in single sentences that have 4 parts, and so each month is like a sentence in this script and this plot, and as I condense them together, I'll eventually start getting them to a bigger, fuller story. But it has been good at teaching me pacing, which actually made the thumbnailing and storyboarding for the next 2 months very easy, thinking in those terms of, well, by the end of this, by 16 panels from where I started to where I end, I need to be at this specific location. So it really convinced me what to cut out as we go. That's something that, again, that I'll talk about in more depth as I talk about some of the creators that influence me, and also doing some of my process inking practices. You'll see that I'm very much drawn to the creators right now that subtract lines and really tell the whole story with as little as possible. Lots of spotted blacks and things, very Alex Toth or Mike Mignola, or who else am I thinking of? Well, those are my 2 top that I can think of. There's a few others I can think of as well. So, all right. Well, we're coming into the end of this, so hopefully you enjoyed this. If you could, let me know. And I hope that this has helped you if you are a maker yourself.
Thanks again for joining me on my art process journey as I create my comic strip, The Last Earth. You can follow me on the web at www.pulp2pixel.com and on Instagram and Twitter at pulp2pixel. See the show description for links to my LinkTree, my merch store, and donation site. See you next time when we return to the distant future of The Last Earth.